All right, ladies, continuing on in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, we are still in Chapter 6, Into Action, page 84. This page is falling out of my book. Halfway down. This thought brings us to step 10, which suggests we continue to take personal inventory and continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. We vigorously commenced this way of living as we cleaned up the past. We have entered the world of the Spirit. Our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. This is not an overnight matter. It should continue for our lifetime. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. We discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Love and tolerance of others is our code. I'm going to break that paragraph down first and foremost. So a few things on this. A lot of people intermingle step 10 and step 11. But if we read the 12 steps as written earlier in How It Works, step 10 is continued to take personal inventory and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And step 11 is sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. So the reason I'm reading those two is because these steps get intermingled because of the way they're written in the book. So we are talking step 10 right now. Step 10, continued to take personal inventory and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. And it's clearly defined here in this paragraph. And it says, we continue to set right any new mistakes as we go along. So this is very important for me to point out because a lot of people switch to the next page, which is page 86, where there is a suggestion for a nightly prayer. That is just a suggestion for a nightly prayer. That is not step 10. Step 10 is as we go along, and I'm going to give you a very, very, very good example of why it's important to practice step 10 as step 10 separate to step 11. So for me, I wake up in the morning and my alarm wasn't set properly, so I'm running late. So I'm in a huff. I have an 8 o'clock appointment with a sponsee on Zoom, and I wake up at 7:50, so I'm running late. So instantly, I have not done my morning meditation. I haven't done my morning prayer. I am rushing because I'm not in my humility, and I don't want to admit that I slept in, and I'm rushing. I stub my toe. I get really mad. I get to the 8 o'clock. I'm 5 minutes late. I still don't admit I was wrong. I'm in a bad start to my day. I mungle that up, I get through. So then I've got to take my kids to school. Well, I'm already running late, I haven't gotten set up. So I whip through the McDonald's to get my kids some breakfast. Keep in mind, I've probably yelled at them to get into the car, and we're in the McDonald's, and they're making mistakes with the order. They're not moving fast enough because I'm already late, to know. So I might be flippant with the lady at McDonald's. Then I get to the school, and you know that damn bitch from the PTA, she's parked where she's not supposed to, so I flip her the bird, I tell her off, I throw my kids out of the car. Now I'm on the highway because I have to get to my doctor's appointment, and don't you know, someone cuts me off on the highway, and I flip them the bird, I'm screaming at them. My whole day's falling apart. It's not even noon. I get to the doctor's office, and that chick at the reception, she's a bitch too. And she always gives me attitude, don't you know? And so I'm kind of short with her, and I'm not very nice, and I might have muddled something under my mouth loud enough that she can hear it's me. Then I gotta go back through traffic again to pick those darn kids up, and don't you know, there's that mom again, and she's just pushing my buttons more, and I might just say something to her as well. And then I get home, and my partner's left his shoes at the front door, dishes on the sink, and I lose my shit on him, and I freak out. And then I sit down at my nightly inventory at 11 o'clock after the Zoom, and what do you think I'm gonna write about? Well, I'm sure as heck not going to write about waking up late, not being humble enough to tell my sponsee that I'm running behind. I am not going to talk about the girl at McDonald's that I lipped off. I'm not going to talk about the girl at school I lipped off. I'm going to forget about the guy in traffic. I'm also going to forget about the after school incident. I'm only going to focus on the nighttime incident with my partner because don't you know he pushes all my buttons. So had I actually paused throughout the day and done this personal inventory and taken a little step back, my whole day would have turned out differently. I could have stopped first thing and said, whoa, I'm running late. I slept in. Message my girl and say, hey, oh my gosh, I'm really sorry I slept in. Can you give me 15 minutes so that I can center myself and start my day properly? And she would say, of course, Kim, not a problem, right? So that would set the trajectory of my whole day differently. Everything else would not have happened, and my nightly inventory wouldn't be about the fight with my partner at 5 o'clock. But a lot of people do a nightly inventory. So I prefer to practice step 10 as it's written as we go along. And it takes practice. So we are going to do what it says. And we're going to refer back to this because it's written on page 86, but it's exactly what's written on page 84. So it says, we continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. So dishonesty is not telling someone I'm running late and trying to cover up. The delusion, I'm telling myself that it's going to be okay and I can skip my morning meditation. When it crops up, we ask God to at once remove them. So a lot of people say if you practice step 10, you're doing a self-appraisal. I'm not doing a self-appraisal. I'm doing a 4-5 with a 6-7 with an 8-9 and an 11. There is no self-appraisal in step 10. Yes, I do participate in another big book study in which they say step 10 is a self-appraisal, but I don't agree. That's why I'm quiet. So we have it right here. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. That's a 4. When these crop up, we ask God at once to remove them. That's a 6 and 7 because we might have to add a little willingness there if we're not willing. We discuss it with someone immediately. I have a step 10 buddy. I suggest you get one. Make sure this is an unaffected person. So if you're talking to her about your partner, she's not friends with him, or if you're talking to her about, Jenny D, I can't call Karen and talk to Karen about Jenny D because she's going to be affected. So we have to make sure this person is unaffected, just like our step 5. And then we quickly make amends if we've harmed anyone. There's your 8 and 9. So, yes, we practice steps 10, 11, and 12 daily. Some people say we do not. We only do 11. Some people say we do 1 through 12. But we practice these principles in all of our affairs. All of the principles of 4 through 12, or 4 through 9 are here in step 10. So, then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. There's your 12. Love and tolerance is our code. I hope that makes it very clear that we need to do step 10 all day, every day, not at the end of the day in a nightly inventory. Let's chat about it. Anyone? Jenny D.
Oh. Yes, let's chat. I'm Jenny. I'm an alcoholic. I just flip and love you, Kim. This is what I have done forever. And until right now, I've never heard anyone in the rooms say this. And I just am like feeling, oh my God, oh my God. And I don't know where I heard this from, but first of all, I'm going to say, if I try to do a nightly inventory when I go to bed, I'm asleep before I'm at noon because I go to sleep fast. But I know now, when something's happening. And it saved me so many times. And I always say, to me, 10 is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, if I need the other end of it. And it has saved me so many times. And I'm so glad you're talking about this because somehow I feel personally validated. Thank you, Kim.
There's someone that won't discuss this with me after hours just because of my view on it. So yes, I know how you feel. Bev?
Here we go.
Good afternoon, everybody. Bev, grateful recovered alcoholic. How's everybody doing today? Well, I hope. So I agree with that. That's what I've always done. You have to stop and pause at that time if you recognize it. And recognizing it for me was the key, because it took me a minute before I could get there. I didn't always recognize it in the beginning, but now I do most of the time. I'm not perfect at this. I don't think anybody is. But one thing that helped me so much in early sobriety was when I was told I could start my day over at any time. And that has helped me so much, because if I feel myself getting restless, irritable, or discontent, or in a pickle, or in my head, or whatever, I know that something has gone wrong somewhere, and it was probably on my end. So I have to look right away. And I think this is just for me, I think the reason people confuse 11 and 10 is because 11 is pointing out the prayer and meditation part of 10, because you have to include that. Or I have to include that, incorporate that in with my 10. But yes, thank you for, like Jenny, I feel validated now.
I'm just
That's awesome. Thank
I'm
you.
like, I don't know what book these other people are reading, but this is what my book says. So, and it works.
Clear.
It's very clear. And we're going to make lots of sense when we keep going. But like Bev says, we have to pay attention to them and be able to see it when it's coming. And that's that if I'm restless, irritable, discontent, or if I'm doing things that aren't quite spiritual or and giving me that, then I kind of have to go, okay, wait a minute, right? And this is where when we are doing our 6 and 7 and we're praying away our fears, if you pray away your fears for enough days in a row, you're going to know what they are. So when they crop up, you're able to do this process. Get a little excited. Lois.
Yes, hello everyone. It's good to see you all. I agree, and you missed one little sentence there, and it says our next function is to grow in understanding and effectiveness. And if we're not doing that 4, 5, 6, 7, the 8, 9, 10, 11 that you're doing in this step, you're not going to have that effectiveness and understanding. So my sponsor also told me, you get a step 10 buddy, and it's somebody that you can just pick up. You don't have to go through a whole big story. They know a lot about you, and you can just blurt out whatever's going on, and they can help you through it. So I agree. And it's pretty clear when you actually take sentence by sentence like this to see that this is exactly what they mean. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and you don't have to tell your step 10 buddy what you're doing. You can just have this like trusted person that you have spiritual consent, and you can just call them and be like, blah, 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 and they'll get to know what you're doing. And you don't have to sit there like some of them. Yes, if I break up with my boyfriend and it's a big shitstorm, I'm going to take it to paper and do a mini 4 or 5. But if it's throughout my day, we can do it in our head. And if you're just practicing, you might want to journal it so you can see what fears keep cropping up, because those are the ones you're going to want to keep praying for. There's lots of things we can do, but we want to get to the point where, like, I do this all day, and it is not a solitary self-appraisal. It's me going, whoa, God, what the heck? And, like, now I've got it so fine, too, that I'm like, God, help me. And I know I'm being judgmental. Pam G.
Hi, I'm Pam. I'm an alcoholic. I'm kind of confused about how often we should be telling somebody, when something's gone wrong, or if we feel like we needed to make amends to somebody. I mean, some things happen every day with my husband, and it's just some of it's repeated. So I just don't know when I should actually reach out to talk to somebody versus just swallowing it and holding on to the pain or turning it over to acceptance. I just don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay, first and foremost, acceptance causes more resentments. So we shouldn't accept anything except things we can't change. So example of that is if my husband is continually not putting his shoes away, that's not something I'm going to accept because that's something I'm going to form a resentment about. But if my husband gets cancer, that's something I need to accept and move on because it's something I can't change. Right? So we have to be careful when we're using the word acceptance because people they get off track with that 417 and they're like, oh, acceptance is the answer. I just have to accept it. No, I accept the things I cannot change. So a cancer diagnosis, the weather. But my husband continually leaving the bread open on the counter or leaving his shoes at the front door, that's something I can change that I don't have to accept. Because if I accept that and don't say anything, I'm going to grow a little bit of a resentment. I'm going to be like, you always leave your fucking shoes at the door, right? So we have to know the difference on that. But with your question with when do we call someone, if it's given you that feeling, you know, if you've sat with God and you're like, you know, I'm in doubt, God, you know, please give me strength and direction, and then you feel a little about it, then you call your buddy, your step 10 buddy, and you say, hey, you know, I just want to run something by you. So usually if in doubt, talk to God and call your friend. Right? Because there's ones where I'm like, meh, but I had a situation where 3 people came to me and made an amends for the same thing 3 times. And I was like, wait a minute, is there a theme with me that I'm doing something that's causing these 3 people to have this reaction to me? So that I called my sponsor, not my step 10 buddy. So it's like, if there's something that's just not sitting right, run it by someone. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, it does.
Awesome. Trish.
Good day, everyone. I'm Trish, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm just really happy to be doing this 10, 11, 12 because it's really my first time in studying this. And I'm learning fresh. I'm not learning another way. And it all just sounds really reasonable to me. And thanks very much, Kim, for all your spontaneous answers and help and just for having this whole party with us gals.
Thank you. And I'm so glad, like, the whole purpose of this is to be able to share our knowledge. Because it took me a lot of trials and tribulations to get this. And I was given a lot of misinformation, and I just like sharing it. I love reading this book. And I love being open-minded to other interpretations. Like the gentleman this morning, where does it say in the book there's an allergy? I'm like, how did you miss that? Oh, give me a giggle. Lisa.
Good morning, everybody. I just want to echo the previous speakers and say that there is so much misinformation in the fellowship that if we just continue here with the words in the book through the experience of people that have read it with others before this, we will have a very good continued to 10, 11, and 12 discussion, because for me, the continuing has been what's enabled me to get to over 16 and a half years. Had I listened to the fellowship and not undertaken the reading meetings with the people of assorted genders and faiths, I would not be recovered today. So let's continue as it's written in the book and continue to ask questions as well. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you, Lise. Anne-Marie will jump right above Lise.
Hi, I'm Anne-Marie. I'm an alcoholic. I had never noticed the part of the sentence that says we ask God at once to remove them. That brings me right back to 6 and 7, which your interpretation of was a mind blower for me. I'd never, you don't work at your steps, you give them up, you turn them over, and this just reinforces it. I apologize as quickly as possible when I am in that kind of situation. I'll drive back to the store if I have to, and apologize to the poor clerk who's just doing her job, for God's sake. You know, and it's amazing how good you feel about yourself afterwards. You know, so it's not just a question of restarting your own day. You're restarting someone else's day as well, because you just shit on their day.
Mm-hmm.
It's their day, for God's sake, not yours. I've spread the 6 and 7 definition as per Kimberly to my sponsees, and I've got one sponsee who's got 32 years of sobriety, and she went, "Oh my God, I've been doing it wrong all this time." She's rethinking the whole thing, which is great. At 32 years of sobriety, when you can start rethinking things over, you're growing. Thanks a lot, Kimberly. This is a wonderful meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I love this book. I love it. And like they said, it's a text, and text is something you study. And like Oprah says, the mark of a good book is it changes every time you read it. And all you need is an open mind and a little bit of willingness. And man, oh man, the things that come alive. Lori.
Hey, Kimberly and everybody else. Wow, I love this. I love this. I love this. It's exactly what I needed to hear today. What's new? What's new, ladies? All right, so let me see. I kind of want to touch back on this subject, but I really need to get something off my chest. And I love that you guys here in this meeting, you know, help each other out and talk through things, because I have a serious question. I just don't know what to do at this point. Okay, so, and I hope this is
let me just interject first.
Yes.
Is this on topic of 10 or is this off topic of 10 on previous?
Okay, so this is basically me trying to figure out how I would talk to my brother that I know is doing, like, not alcohol, but an outside related drug, and I don't know how to bring it up to him because he doesn't know I know.
That'll be an after the meeting chat we can have, just because we are
Okay.
taping and we're on this page.
Totally. No.
Absolutely.
I totally understand that. It thought to me, the thought occurred, and I wanted to discuss. But thank you for discussing with me after the meeting.
Absolutely.
And on this topic, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for sharing more about it. Thank you for studying it, for helping others to understand it, because it really, truly is important that we take full advantage of this program that has been so freely given to us, so that we can really give it to others, because obviously what we don't have, we can't give, right? So I'm just going to listen, but I appreciate you guys speaking on it. Thank you.
Awesome. And we'll chat after the meeting. Oops. Janice.
Hi, everybody. I'm Janice. I'm an alcoholic. Good to see everybody. And, well, I could just talk about everything, but mostly what I was hitting on when you were separating the 10th and the 11th, I never came across anybody that had a problem with that, like separating. You know, it was always clear that the 10th was the 10th and the 11th. And for me, when they will here, we have entered the world of the new spirit. You know, coming from 6 and 7, you know, into 8 and 9 before we even get to 10, we're already in a place where, at least I was, where I wanted to do God's will. And when things would pop up, I would definitely, or you know, owed somebody an amend, you know, if it was something that I would try to do right then and there, like it was just said Emery said, drive back to the store, or, you know, things like that. But journaling is what I wanted to, because you mentioned that, and once the, you know, things pop up later on, that's, you know, journaling can be considered like part of your step 10, and at least for me, that's how I used it. And it was also me like talking to God, you know, that was like that's another thing I don't understand. Why you wait at night to talk to God? That always blew my mind when I hear, oh, I forgot, you know, at the end of the day, oh, I forgot to say good morning to God, or, you know, either or, like they say good morning and thank you in the morning, or help me, and then in the evening, thank you. Like, well, what about all day long? It's like, I must be nuts, but I walk around talking to him like he's in, Jesus with me 24/7, and we only bother God for the, if I got some real tough problems, we go to Dad. But I talk to Jesus all day. I'm not really crazy, but I really there's just so much. Like if you had written down, now if you're just starting out and what you'd like your life to be like in 5 years, and then look back on it, you would have shortchanged yourself so much. I have a problem when I was, because I started all this inventory taking very young, and I learned that I used humor to try to make friends, and some of it was at other people's expense. So I didn't know until later on when it became more like over the last 20 years when the bullying topic came up. We never thought of it. You threw rocks at people, whatever you did, if you didn't like them, we did whatever we wanted to do. We didn't consider it like a, wrong thing. Yeah, I guess it was wrong, but we didn't make it like a bullying. I don't know. Anyway, I had to, all through my adulthood, any time I was trying to do this and get sober and do the right thing, every morning I would ask him, please, just help me think before I talk. Just help me think before I talk. And I can't tell you how many times I would literally be like, I could almost feel him grabbing my tongue and like not saying, and then sometimes being so relieved because it would have been like, I would have been, insulting somebody, or it really would have been inappropriate. And there was one time that I wanted to write about it. And that night when I got home, I wrote about this one experience I had. And it was with this fellow at a meeting that he's like, my name is, and I'm cross addicted. That was like the big thing back in the 90s when they were first allowing people in AA to talk about drugs also. Cross addicted. And that just irritated the shit out of me. It's like I wanted to just go, if there was a Dollar Tree then I probably would have went and found like, bunch of courses and just, I don't know, it just made me nuts. So it turned out he had just got diagnosed with bipolar, and I was so glad that I didn't express my my thoughts of him, which would have been making people laugh and being, just trying to get something for me, to get attention and whatnot. But all right, I go home and I'm writing it out in my journal. It's Saturday night, and it's like, God, I'm never going to, talk about somebody behind their back, and I'm gonna try to, with your help, blah blah blah. I don't care if they get up in the middle of a meeting and start singing. I'm not gonna make fun of anybody, what they say at a meeting. I'm not gonna judge anybody anymore. So I walk in their shoes. But most of all, and then the singing thing. Sunday mornings in the first few years of my sobriety, every Sunday morning we had a Jones Beach meeting. People on the East Coast might.
Janice, I gotta cut you off long. You're just going a little long. I'm sorry. You just get a little.
All right, this is the finale.
Okay, just wrap it up quick, please.
We're at the beach meeting, and it opens up, and it's like a Phil Donahue show with like rings and rings of people. When you get there, you just bring your little beach chair. And no shit, the little man in front of me got called on to share. They run out and give him the microphone. He stood up and he started singing a song. And I swear to God, I lifted off the ground. It was a whopper. And like, that's one of the first biggies that you got something happen like that to you, and there's never going to be a doubt in your mind that he's with you and he loves you and you're on the right track. So thank you.
Yeah, and the whole purpose of this is to grow our God consciousness and to be able to have that will of God. And, it's just noticing our fears as they crop up, noticing our conduct, noticing our patterns of harm, and being able to have it removed and corrected immediately. And I like journaling at the beginning because, like Lois said, we are growing in understanding and effectiveness, and we're not effective at this right away. It's something we have to practice and grow into. And so whatever tool you use, work it, because I've got a hardwire now, and that's where we intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us. Comes from practicing this. Wendy, remember to keep it on this paragraph, please.
Hey, Kim and everybody. So glad to be here, Wendy Alcoholic. Yeah, I really appreciate that example that you gave because for a long time, I just heard everybody conflating like 10 and 11 and talking about the nighttime. And I think for me, and maybe a lot of alcoholics, you know, by that time, I mean, your example is perfect. Like, you go through the whole day, and that's like, wow, the whole day is kind of, I've done all these things have happened, and I haven't been paying any attention to that. So, I mean, it makes complete sense to me that this would be what they want us to do. Bless you. So I have a question though, and maybe you said it. When do people start to do this? Like, should you be already working a 9 before you start doing a 10, or?
You can start talking to God and looking at your day for fear at any point. Any point.
Okay.
Any point.
Okay. I mean,
yeah.
I do, but I'm not
like
sort of
nowhere in the literature does it say you have to finish all your amends in number 9 before you can move to 10. It doesn't say that, right? And this is a program where we are practicing it every day in order to get more effective at it. Because remember, there's not amends that we're willing to do right away. So there's some amends where, you know, there's some fears I'm not willing to pray away yet. So I'm doing a 6 to pray for the 7. I'm doing the 8 to pray for the 9. I'm going to start working 10. I'm doing 11 every day. I'm doing my 10 throughout the day. Because it doesn't say here at the end of the day. It says as we go along.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That.
Yeah. You know, once you've got your 1, 2, 3, go. Leslie.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I am Leslie. I am an alcoholic. Love step 10 after practicing this for so many years. And really, I'm just rewording what everyone has said. My barometer is my heart rate. When I start to feel that climbing, I stop talking. I have very concise directions now to myself that my higher power has given me. And then I begin to say the Serenity Prayer every time now. No, not every time. I don't know what that is. Most times. And then I find the true gift is I might not have to do a step 10, but it says quickly, which I do if I still need and I try to take control of what I don't have control over. It all just wraps around over and over. Quickly clean it up. The other person is usually like, yeah, I'm stressed out too. Something easy. And the true gift is I can't remember that it happened hours later the next day. And I keep saying the Serenity Prayer. Or if it doesn't go away, everything everyone's sharing. Write about it. Call someone. Text someone. Sometimes that will just take care of it, a text. And then, the gifts of the program. I stay in my happy place, which is helpful to others without guilt. Helping others. So thank you all for being here. That's all I got.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Leslie. And you know what? I just have to say I saw on a Facebook group for alcoholics and it says, what step are you working? And I'm like, I just work the program. You know, it could be 11 a.m. and I'm working a 6. And then, you know, at 5 p.m. I'm working a 8, 9. You know, I could be doing a 12 at 3 o'clock. You never know. I just work the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it's like, I'm not on a specific step. There's not a specific rhyme nor reason. It's just, I practice this thing 24/7. Could be a different one every day. But the Serenity Prayer. So here in BC at the end of the Serenity Prayer, they say, keep coming back. It works if you work it. So I in my first early days of practicing this, I would say the Serenity Prayer in my car. I'd be driving and I'd want to yell at someone. I'd be like, God, grant me the Serenity. And then my daughter in the back seat would say at the end, keep coming back. It works. Summer, right? She's so funny. Marianne.
Hi, Marianne. Alcoholic. I want to echo something that was said earlier about the slogan we use, it says start your day over. And when I first came into the rooms, people said that a lot. You know, you can start your day over when things are going bad early in the day. And sometimes I understood that to mean just stop, take a breath, you know, try to turn it over, not own it for the whole day. And other times it didn't work at all. So then I learned that I have to stop and think, maybe it's a step 10 thing. Maybe I have to do something about the step 10 and see why I'm irritable, why I'm cranky, why I'm upset and feeling uncomfortable with myself. I mean, I know when something's not right about me. So maybe it's that I have to do something about a step 10 and call someone and talk it out or say, I'm sorry, before I can turn my day over, before I can start my day over. You know, it's a little bit of what's going on here. And once I get a sense that it's not working just to start my day over, then I sometimes do a step 10 with it. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much. I actually had an incident where my ex-husband at one point kidnapped my children on a weekend. And I got walked to a meeting by my sponsor. And I literally went home, got back into bed, pulled the covers over, and I restarted my day, like at 1 p.m. because I was so frazzled. And I literally got up, did my prayers on my knees, had a shower, got dressed, went to the kitchen, like started from zero, started my day over. So like, if you need to just stop and pause, or if you need to just get back in bed and actually get up physically to start your day, do it. It works. Kathy D, last one, and we're going to read some more. Got to unmute. There you go.
There we go. Okay. Hi, I'm Kathy, and I'm an alcoholic. That's so funny because I was just going to say that I've done that. I've literally had to go back to bed and just get up all over again and start over because on days where I just pick up my phone when I get up, I got a message or somebody calls, I get distracted. I start doing something else, talking to somebody else, and then pretty soon I'm like frazzled. I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing right now? And so I literally, and I'm not feeling good. I'm not feeling right. I'm anxious. So on those days I literally have to go back to bed and just start over. I'm not one that I've always had a hard time reaching out. So I kind of like I like the step 10 buddy. I like that idea. So I think I'm going to start doing that instead of just calling my sponsor when, on extremes. I think I like that idea. It's a good idea. I don't know. I like looking at this and seeing how the steps all come together. I've never looked at it that way. So thank you for bringing that to light for me. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you. And yeah, Step 10 Buddy is amazing. And just keeping in mind that it's an unaffected person. And even if you have a sponsee who's completed the work in the book and is now helping others, we like to say you go sideways or up with bad news and down with good news. So if you have something amazing, share it to someone that might be, struggling or new to the program. And when you have stuff that's kind of eating your lunch, as the boys say, same level or up. Marianne, I'm going to get you. We're just going to read the next little bit first. So bottom of 84. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. For by this time, sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically. We will see that our new attitude toward liquor has been given us without any thought or effort on our part. It just comes. That is the miracle of it. We are not fighting it, neither are we avoiding temptation. We feel as though we had been placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected. We have not even sworn off. Instead, the problem has been removed. It does not exist for us. We are neither cocky nor are we afraid. That is our experience. That is how we react so long as we keep in fit spiritual condition. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. We are headed for trouble if we do, for alcohol is a subtle foe. We are not cured of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day where we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is the proper use of the will. Much has already been said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from Him who has all knowledge and power. If we have carefully followed directions, we have begun to sense the flow of His Spirit into us. To some extent, we have become God conscious. We have begun to develop this vital sixth sense, but we must go further, and that means more action. So again, I'm going to watch Jenny D's little square because I'm going to see a smile. Again, this is not a solitary self-appraisal. This is God. This is step 10. This is your constant contact with God. His will, not mine. This is not a self-appraisal. So here, this is what I have. And this is, like, I get chills reading this because it talks about just that we're not cured of alcohol. This is where we are recovered. This is where we walk in God's will. And this is where we are conscious of things and we are always trying to do the next right thing. This is where we maintain our spiritual condition, right here. And it's going to be us doing God's will, serving Him. We must carry the vision of God's will into all our activities. So it's not just in your morning meditation. It's not in your evening meditation. All through your day. Everything you do. Not when you're standing at a podium in a meeting. You know, this is the way we are God conscious at all times. And I'm telling you, when we do this, we cease fighting everyone and everything. And we seriously cease fighting alcohol. Like people say the obsession is removed. No, we cease fighting it. It's gone automatically. It's not, you're not able to explain it, but it's that God consciousness. I am hardwired to my Creator. And it took practice. This is the practice. And that is like how I got to be here. That is how I got to be free. And it says, much has been already said about receiving strength, inspiration, and direction from Him. Strength and direction. This is the 4th time in this book that that's there. When in doubt, ask for strength and direction. It doesn't say call 10 friends. It doesn't say post on a Facebook thing asking for anybody's opinion. It says sit down and ask your Creator for strength and direction. That is part of step 10 and 11. It's this conscious contact with our Creator that we are trying to build. That is the relationship that we are trying to form. I get excited. Sorry. Marianne, I made you wait.
Oh, that's okay. I'm glad I heard you. I was happy to wait.
Okay.
I'm an alcoholic. My name is Marianne. Great to be with you. I love this group. And I'm so happy when I miss it that it's on YouTube and I can catch up. What struck me with the paragraph before this one was that it's sort of the definition of clear-cut instructions for me every day. Not only did 4 through 9 clear up my past, but it gave me a training of a step that I'm on every single day. And And I go to this a lot because I get twisted up quite quickly. And with my distorted and lacking in proportion thinking, I love that I only have to watch for 4 things, because most of my problems end up in those 4 titles. And that I have, like, just go to God, talk to somebody, make amends, and move on, you know, help others, and keep moving forward with this. So this paragraph is the epitome of clear-cut directions for this program and me. Thanks very much, Kim.
Thank you so much. And this is what I've taught my kids to do.
Yeah.
Like, my kids can do this part right here in their day. And like, seriously, to give kids this tool, like, apparently, like, we're supposed to know it automatically, but I don't know. Nobody taught me this stuff. I missed that day in elementary school. But like, this is how, you know, I can pass this knowledge on to my kids and hopefully break the cycle. Anybody else want to talk on 10? Yvonne?
So I am way overthinking this, because it's like I need to pray for this and do this and do this and do that, and it's like I'm looking for the point where it all comes together. So is this basically in the nutshell, step 10, where I need to pause, I need to pray, I need to listen for that intuitive thought for what, God wants me to do, that strength and direction. Does that make sense? I guess I guess it's kind of, am I doing it right?
Right. Okay, so I'm going to break it down really simple, and it's all in that first paragraph. And they say, you know, practice these principles in all of our affairs, right? And integrate this into our life. This is going to be like the Coles Notes version, I suppose. It's in that step 10 paragraph where it says, continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. So those are your personal red flags. If I'm going through my day and I'm like, and it doesn't seem like things are going right, you know, some people are like, halt, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. I don't buy that bullshit. I look for selfishness, dishonest, resentment, and fear. I'm like, am I being selfish right now? Whoa, okay, let me just pull myself back. What's going on? What fear is attached to this selfishness? Right? Why am I acting this way? What fear? It's always going to be tied to a fear. This is why we pray for our fears, because then we know what they are. It's praying for your fears is basically just memorizing them. If I pray for them every day for 2 weeks, yeah, I'm asking God to remove them, but I'm ingraining those things into my head. So when I'm like, okay, wait a minute, am I being selfish, dishonest, resentful, or fearful? Okay, wait, I'm being selfish. Okay, why am I being selfish? Ooh, it's my fear of being alone. Okay, so then I stop right then and there. God, could you just please remove this fear of being alone and direct me to serve your will? Get me back on the right track. And I've self-corrected. Now, if it was something like dishonesty, right, I go, whoa, why did I just lie about that? Right? Like when I cut my finger on the glass in the dishwasher and I lied and said it was a paper cut. Like, why did I just say that lie? Stopped instantly. Okay, what's the fear? The fear is not being good enough. If I'm just in my kitchen cutting my finger on glass, I'm not as good enough as if I'm in my office, successful doing work. There's the fear. So I can go, God, could you please remove that fear of not being good enough? Because I know I am amazing, because I am your child. Please direct me to be useful to someone else. That one, I called my girlfriend. I'm like, you know what I just lied about? Because I felt like an idiot. I'm like, why did I just do that? So that one, I called my girlfriend. I'm like, do you know I just lied about a paper cut? She's like, seriously? I'm like, yeah. She's like, that's really stupid. I'm like, I know. But I had to tell another person, right? I didn't talk to her about it. I didn't do anything else. I was like, I just lied about a paper cut. She's like, that's really dumb. I'm like, I know. And that was it, right? So I was good, and off I went about my day. So this is where we are able to stop and bring ourselves back to God and connect that, right? Because if I'm in my fear, I start doing these things, selfish, dishonest, resentful, right? Then I'm not in God's will, I'm in Kim's will. And there we go, right? Like, look at my day. Kim's will took over. I was running late. I didn't want to be humble. I mouthed off everybody from here to the doctor's office and back. And then I got in a huge fight in my house. Whose will is that? That sure as heck isn't God's will. And I bet you if I was driving on the highway and a sponsee called, I'd be like, I don't have fucking time for that bitch right now. And I would have hung up the phone, right? I wouldn't have picked up. So I was not being of service to anybody. But if I'm always like doing this process and I'm like, oh, I'm not in fear. Oh, there's a fear. Let's get rid of it. I'm in God's will. And I'm in this serene place where when someone calls me, I'm like, hey, what's going on? Because otherwise it's like I'm in my will and I don't have time for you because I'm pissed off at all these dingbats that have screwed my day up, right? So it's all encompassing, but it starts with that quick, you got to do that quick, like being conscious of it and going, okay, whoa, am I being selfish, dishonest? What is going on here, right? Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And I mean, really, that's the only little bit of anything that could be called self-appraisal. And it's not, it's self-awareness and being in God's will, right? I'm in my will, I'm not in God's will if I'm in any of these defects. Lois!
Yes, you know, and you were talking about it, you know, where it says love and tolerance of others is our code. So many people go to this sentence that we have a daily reprieve contingent on our spiritual condition, but when really the next sentence is the one you need to be aware of so much. It says every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. You know, so it's sort of like your GPS, you know, your God prayer system, that you're getting spiritually connected. The more you do it, the more it'll come to you. And like Kim said, it's just matter of fact after a while. You know, you just know when you're off the beam, and you know you've got to either just pray about it or call somebody, you have to do something, because you don't want to stay on that path, because like you said, it can really just snowball. So it's that's what I always thought about it as. Thank you.
Okay, I just had a thought, and some of y'all really might not like it, but it came to my mind, so I'm gonna say it out loud, because a lot of people say the thing I'm gonna say, and they go, oh, I really need a meeting. So if you're saying, oh, I really need a meeting, you really need to turn to this page. That's your GPS. Okay? I'm honest to God. That's that feeling you're looking for. If you're feeling like you need a meeting, you need to turn to this page and do this process. Might have been an unwelcomed piece of advice. Joanne.
I'm Joanne, I'm an alcoholic, and I didn't want to follow that one. But here's my take on it. It's everything. You know, when you think you need a meeting, do both. You know, if you're squirrely, ask yourself, when was the last time you had something to eat? Are you tired? I mean, hungry, tired, that's the physical. We check in because the physical affects the mental. And then, but I want to get back to the continue to watch. Part of my disease was leaving myself. You know, the program has asked me to step up and pay attention. I put a lot of investment in my drinking and drugging not to pay attention. You know, there was things I didn't want to pay attention to. It was too hard to pay attention to. I just didn't want to pay attention. But I also, eventually, I didn't want to die, you know. So they said, stop drinking, stop drugging, wake up. And that took time. But I love analogies, and what kept coming to mind about, so I worked with children, and I would
toddlers especially are very heavy and kind of unruly, and I would be sometimes in a hurry and I would go and pick up the child, and because we had to get to the next stage, and eventually I ended up in a chiropractor's office, and she said, you need to learn how to bend right, because the way you've been bending has been hurting you. So now I have to consciously, again, watch, pay attention, get inside of my head and say, okay, consciously think, where's my knees, where's my feet, am I bending right? And once I learned how to do that, my back stopped hurting. And so part of this practice, and Kimberly has said, and I agree, it doesn't come overnight. I have to practice and develop this, and eventually it does become easier, and I get stronger, and I have had that gift of, I'm no longer, booze doesn't talk to me. Once in the last, 10, 15 years, but generally it doesn't talk to me. I'm not driven by compulsion for it, but it's because I've gotten strong. I've gotten strong mentally, physically, and spiritually. And it says, especially if you're new, just remember there's a part that says, we are not saints. We're just trying to do the best that we can. And but try it. But the work is conscious. Oh my God, being consciously aware to I remember turning to someone after 5 years of recovery and saying, I don't think I had a spiritual awakening. And he says, but I've watched you for 5 years and this happened and you didn't drink, and you got through this and you didn't drink, and this. And I said, oh my God, I had a spiritual awakening and I missed it. And he said, just start to pay attention to what you're doing. Just keep paying attention to what you feel, what you think, and then also pay attention that you can ask for help in lots of different ways. And with that, I'll share the time. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And I just had a great analogy thinking of you. Okay, so and if you're stuck and you're here and you're like, I really need a meeting and you can't figure out what's going on, a meeting for me is like, when you're feeling that hole in your soul and you go to the bar to pick up a guy to make you feel good. That's why I go to meetings, to pick up a newcomer, and usually it'll be a mirror of whatever you need, right? So that's the pickup joint. On Christmas Eve, I don't know if I share that, I go in and I do my highs and hellos, and I'm like, hey, how are you? And they're like, great, how are you? I'm like, great. Next, hey, how are you? Great, how are you? Great. Next, and then you go, hey, how are you? They're like, oh, I'm having the worst day. I'm like, great, I'm going to sit with you. Like, that's what I do when I'm not feeling good. I go find me a newcomer or somebody not having a good day. Lisa G.
It seems to be what works for me too. So I just want to echo a lot of the things that you've said that might be not popular, because I too have been known for not being popular, because I take things that I say when I'm in fellowship moments out of the big book, and people look at me like I have three heads, and I don't mind anymore, but I'm used to it. I just want to say that this whole continue to take personal inventory and when we were wrong, promptly admitted thing, as I've heard said, is so misunderstood, because people think that they have to go around saying sorry to everybody else. Continue to take personal inventory is taking a look at our actions and its effect on our thinking, not on how the other people perceive us. Continue to take personal inventory is about us. It's not about the other people. And so whatever I've heard anyone say about this over the years that I've been leading reading meetings, they frequently go to a 9 or 11, or even their 4, 5, 6, but they will rarely talk about what's really going on. They usually bring in old stuff. And this is a continuation to keep things in the moment and clear. It's not to go and dig up the past. It's not to look in the future to see what I have to pray about. It's continued to take personal inventory, and we were wrong, promptly admitted it. In my experience, the promptly is coming closer together from when I get that gut punch or feeling in between my boobs
to actually having to act on it. Because frequently, it's for me, it's not in the gut. Frequently, I'll break my own heart for something I've done again. So thanks for letting me share.
Thank you so much. And sometimes promptly isn't right away. I had a conversation with someone where I had my side of the story and they had theirs. And a couple weeks later, I was talking to my sponsor and she said something which totally shifted my idea. And I was like, I owe that person an amends. I wasn't open-minded in that conversation. And it started an argument. And so, you know, it's promptly when you realize it too. It doesn't mean that minute, because sometimes things evolve. Lori, last one on this one, and then we'll shut down the recording and open the floor.
Yes, Lori, Alcoholic, 333 days today. To thine own self be true. I love what she just shared, and it reminds me of that. It's so true, because I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but in my alcoholic mind, I like immediately want to start like making all these amends, right? And like trying to like fix everything and make everything better. And it's like, what I really need to do is take a good hard look at myself in every moment and what not has just happened, but what is happening currently in my mind and how it's playing out. And so I really appreciate, once again, you guys sharing about this. And I feel like I'm starting to catch myself. And I guess what she shared about really helped me to understand is like, how do we pause when we're agitated, and like, how do we stop ourselves from getting resentful or fearful or dishonest? But then what she just shared about like almost answered like that question really well for me. So that was really helpful. Thank you to the last woman who just shared. And Joanne, also thank you for your share. I'm getting a lot out of this, and I'm realizing that, you know, it really has been challenging for me to pause when I'm fearful or when I'm resentful. But to have to go back and to make an amend or to review everything is even more challenging. So it's almost like these steps in this program is set up so that like eventually we get it, because we don't want to have to keep going back and making all these amends and living in this fear. And I just love the way it's set up. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to close out on this page with bringing up that line, we are neither cocky nor are we afraid. Those are things that if you see them crop up, pay attention to them immediately. You should not be afraid of alcohol, nor should you be in a position where you think you got this and you're good. That is a big indicator that you are not spiritually fit, and you need to take a really good look at what's going on. So those are like some good little warnings to look for: afraid or cocky. And if we're working with others too, if you're working with a sponsee and she's been through this process and she's scared to go places, there is something missing, and it takes a good little look to find it. Because you want to be as useful as you can to that person. So keep an eye for those things. And with that, we're done step 10, and we're going to move on to step 11 next time we meet.